Mr. Bacaron, which is the assigned topic to me is the benefits of, I'm sorry, about the IT knowledge. The indigenous knowledge and sustainable resource used. So, the IKI provides sustainable methods of managing natural resources, such as rotational farming, controlled burning, and sacred site preservation, which align with long-term conservation goals. So, the IKI, the IKI or the indigenous knowledge, they offers a sustainable methods of managing natural resources. Um, Also, it includes the three practices, which is the rotational farming, controlled burning, and the preservation of sacred natural sites. These practices are deeply rooted in cultural traditions and also in ecological understanding, and they often align closely with long-term conservation goals by promoting biodiversity, preventing overexploitation, and maintaining the ecosystem balance. So in shorter version of it is that an indigenous knowledge supports sustainable resource management through practices like those. And also, um, the role of Aiki is it refers to the traditional or experience-based knowledge system developed by the indigenous people, because so it means that their own experience, their own knowledge about their systems or about their environment, they they mainly close to interaction with their natural environment. So they actually know what what is going on in their certain places but where that they live that they live. And also, it is also holistic, often combining ecological, cultural, and spiritual and practical knowledge of them. So it means murag own knowledge kay nila, murag as their experience there in their own community, they actually known in their own experience. And also, and rotational farming, that is a long-term practice of sustainable natural resource management. It also known as shifting cultivation. This practices involves also in alternating cultivation and fallow periods to allow soil recovery and maintain productivity. Also, the control burning, used to manage vegetation, reduce wildfire risk, and support certain plant species. Also conducting burning mimics natural cycles and enhances ecosystem resource. And lastly is the sacred site preservation. Um, um, the rivers, mountains, and other landscapes considered a sacred, protected from exploitation, acting as informal conservation zones. So also, um, the IKI and the community empowerment builds a local ownership of conservation efforts, and also they ensures that policies respect cultural values and practices, encourages encourages intergenerational knowledge transfer, sustaining both nature and culture. So to sum up, the meaning of it is that Aiki is not only a legacy of cultural wisdom, it is a practical, effective approach to sustainable natural resource management. And also in recognizing and integrating Aiki into conservation planning leads, it is more equitable, resilient, and ecological sound outcomes. So next is that this um next is next the next slide is the CBC principles. So there are two: the participatory conservation, biodiversity, livelihood balance, and the key CBC approaches. So the CBC principles has number one is the participatory conservation. So this principle emphasizes that local communities must be actively involved in planning, decision making, and managing conservation areas. So it shifts power from centralized institutions and also to the people who directly depend on the um, and interact with the environment. So um, um, the idea of it is that nothing for us with us. That quote. Um, the examples of it is that in the local communities manage conservation through conservation area management committees, or CAMCS or CAMS, and also the participatory approach has led to both improve conservation outcomes and increase community ownership. So that's the purpose of it, of that principle. Nothing for us with us. Number two is that the biodiversity livelihood balance. So this principle ensures that conservation strategies do not harm local livelihoods. So ideally should enhance them, and it recognizes that people and nature are interconnected, especially in rural or indigenous. So it means conservation must work for people and nature together. They have their interconnectedness. They have that connection that will that will that will empowers local communities to manage wildlife and natural resources in their designated conservancies. And also, this approach has helped increase populations of endangered species like black rhinos and elephants, while also providing jobs and income to local people. So both of animals and humans, us, is um, should we call that, nakabenepisyo ang duha. So I mean, both of us are having that benefits that we should need. So the number one example of that is the Namibia's community conservancies. So also why this principle matters. So the principle participatory conservation, in conservation outcome, it is locally tailored effective strategies. Also the social outcome empowers communities, builds trust in the biodiversity livelihood balance, long-term sustainability of ecosystems, and also reduces poverty, builds conservation and incentives because it can boost our economic growth. So the key CBC approaches are the co-management, CBNRM, ecotourism, and TES. Um, so so the co-management. So the co-management, a shared governance system where local communities and government agencies jointly manage natural resources and protected areas. So the main features here is the shared decision making, legal agreements, and the division of rules and responsibilities. So example for that is that the marine co-management of the Philippines. The local fisheries and government officials co-manage MPA. It means marine protected areas. So the community help enforce rules, monitor fish stocks, and manage tourism. So also it is resulted in better reef health and increased fish catch for locals. So that's the main purpose of it in shared governance system. It is jointly managed natural resources and protected areas, both the local communities and the government agencies. So number two is the CBNRM, or the Community-Based Natural Resource Management. So it is a model where local communities have legal rights and responsibilities to manage, use, and benefit from the natural resources, which are the forest, wildlife, water, and so many more, so on. So, the main purpose of it is that to legal decentralization of resource rights, and also community governance structures, sustainable resource use with benefits. So example of it of CBNRM in Botswana and Namibia. So these communities from conservancies and manage wildlife. The profits come from trophy hunting, ecotourism, and harvesting natural products, and has reduced poaching and increased community incomes. So they have that local communities. I mean, so both, I mean, the main purpose of it is that local communities have their legal rights and responsibilities to manage and use it. So why, in the way that they consume it, to sum up everything, the responsibility also of managing it is from the people who benefit it. So us people, we are the one that is responsible to manage, and to protect the resources that we've got in the forest. So mainly, while we're getting the benefits that we need in the forest, we have the rights, or we are the responsible ones to protect and conserve what's in there. So next is the ecotourism. Tourism that is and environmentally responsible, supports conservation, and provides economic benefits to local communities. So the main purpose of ecotourism is the education and awareness, revenue sharing with communities, and low impact tourism. So, like for example, the guerrilla tourism in Rwanda. The tourists pay to see endangered mountain gorillas. So a portion of revenue goes to the local villages of for development projects. So the money that they paid to see the endangered mountain gorillas is the money that they will use to revenue to revenue the to revenue the that certain area that the gorilla lives. So strong local support has reduced illegal hunting and deforestation. So the mainly purpose of it is that environmentally responsible and supports conservation, and also provides economic benefits to local communities. So number four is that payment for ecosystem services, or the PES, a conservation tool where landowners or communities are financially compensated for managing their land in ways that provide ecological benefits. Example of it is that clean water, carbon storage, and biodiversity. So the voluntary transactions of it, the payments tied to conservation outcomes, and also the often supported by governments or the NGOs. So example of it is the REDD in Nepal. Um, the communities receive payments for protecting forests and reducing emissions, and also carbon credits are sold on international markets, and promotes forest regenerations and supports local livelihoods. So the main features of it is that the landowners or the communities are financially compensated for in way that they will manage their land to provide ecological benefits. So to sum up all of it, this the approaches of some CBC, the co-management is it focused to shared decision making, while the CBNRM, resource rights and use, while the ecotourism, sustainable tourism, the PES, ecosystem services and protection. Who manages it? The co-management is the government plus the communities, both of them. Um, the CBNRM is the communities because of livelihood plus conservation. Also, I'll add in the co-management that the main benefit of it, why who manage it is both the government and communities, because to they have to enforce or to joint responsibility of of the one that they've got to have that benefits. Um, and ecotourism, they mainly focus in sustainable tourism. Who manages it is the communities and private, and income plus awareness. That's the main benefit. PS, communities and landowners who manage it, and the main benefit is the financial income. So these CBC approaches are adaptive tools for integrating conservation. And next, the benefits of the CBCs are strengthens local biodiversity conservation for fosters community empowerment and ownership, reduces conflict between authorities and locals. So these three major benefits come in CBC. um, Focuses mainly, and number one is to strengthens local biodiversity conservation. So CBC empowers local people to actively manage and protect the natural environment. So since they have direct stake in the land and its resources, they are more motivated to monitor illegal activities like poaching or logging, and protect endangered species and habitats, and promote sustainable land use and practices. So examples of it is that in the Nepal's buffer zones around national parks. So community forest users groups have helped restore forests and increased wildlife populations, including rhinos and tigers. So the main purpose of it is that the local people have the powers to actively manage and protect. So the people in the Nepal is that they have their buffer zones around the national parks. So number two is to fosters community empowerment and ownership. So when communities are involved in conservation decisions, they feel recognized and valued. So CBC helps build leadership skills and also support traditional knowledge system and increase pride and cultural connection to land. Example of it is in Tanzania, the Hadza people manage forest areas under land rights recognition. So helping preserve both biodiversity and their ancestral traditions. So both of it, the biodiversity and their ancestral traditions, both of it is that they help each other to preserve those resources. So number three is last is the reduces conflict between authorities and locals. So top down conservation and often excludes or restricts communities, leading to mistrust or resistance. So CBC builds a partnership that reduces tension by promoting transparent decision making and also ensuring that it is fair to the distribution of benefits and resolving disputes locality. So the main example of it is that in eco-managed marine protected areas in the Philippines. So it is a social development. It is a community trust in conservation agencies has grown as livelihoods and resource access is improved. So the co-managed marine protected areas in the Philippines are improved because of the livelihoods and resource that are grown there. So many of people will magmakabenepisyo sila tanan. I mean, can mainly get the benefits that they need. So the CBC is not just a biodiversity. So the conclusion of it is that the CBC or the community-based conservation is not just a biodiversity strategy. It is also a social development model that brings nature and people together for mutual benefit. So, both of nature and people have their interconnectedness because of that mutual benefit. While we get the benefits that we want from the nature, which um, the nature have played their role to sustain what we need. So we are the one who is responsible to continue or to sustain what are to sustain the resources that are in that are wala ka nabilin nabilin sa forest. So we are the one who is responsible of it. So having that cause of biodiversity strategies, it is a social development model to goes around and put up together as a mutual benefits. So I think that is the last part of my report. So thank you.